welcome to Points to Ponder. My guest today is my friend Genia Vookles, and in a minute I'll ask Genia to tell you a little bit about herself. But today we start a new series for December in Points to Ponder. We've talked about justice during October, and we talked about truth as it relates to justice, the idea of truth telling and being able to be honest with ourselves and with others. We talked about that in November. And now in December, we'll be talking about cultural healing. And what we mean by that is that if justice is to be done in our culture, if we are to be able to do the kind of truth telling that we need to do, there are certain things we need to do to help our culture heal. And today I've asked Genia here, and we're going to be talking about crossing bridges. But first, Genia, would you tell them a little bit about yourself?
I'm 83 years old, so I'm getting up there, but I don't feel like that inside. I have 3 grown children. My son, Chuck, and his wife, Franny, live in Knoxville. That's why I moved here. And besides that, I went to school here and love to be here, but that's why I did. And then I have Laura, who is a museum head curator at the Hudson River Museum in New York, and her husband, Zork, and my grandson, Evan. And then I have my daughter, Jenny, and her husband, Rob, who live in Portland, Oregon. And their children are 9 dogs that live in the house. and they're silken windhounds and greyhounds, and they're just wonderful.
Wonderful. Well, I invited Genia today to be a part of this because I met Genia when we were working together on what we call the Common Ground Cafe in inner city Knoxville, area we call the 5 Points area. A cafe where people who came to the food pantry, which was also located in that building of our church, St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Knoxville, people who came to get their groceries there also were invited to come into the church to what we called the Common Ground Cafe, a place where they were able to get breakfast and just hang out, a gathering place in the neighborhood. And Genia was one of the volunteers with that, who taught jewelry making. And so she crossed some bridges to get there. And in cultural healing, one of the first things that has to happen for our culture to be healed is we have to be willing to cross some bridges from what we are accustomed to meet people who are very different than we are. So Genia, I picked this quote from Nelson Mandela to give us a start. It says, and I quote, "The time for the healing of the wounds has come. The moment to bridge the chasms that divide us has come. The time to build is upon us." And I wanted to start there and just ask you how your experience has helped you to cross bridges.
It's helped a lot. And I discovered at one point, somebody said to me, the things we need to be grateful for, the bad things that happen to us as well as the good things, because they help make us into the person we are. And I thought, well, they made me into a better person, because when I was growing up, I was so sheltered, totally sheltered, somebody told me I lived in a fairy tale. And I just didn't realize what was out there beyond me. And when I ended up getting a divorce, I discovered real fast what it was like, because I had no idea how women felt about stuff. And it was all of a sudden like, no wonder women are upset. I wasn't upset because I didn't have anything to be upset about, And so it gave me all the experiences. And then I've had some surgeries and things and a lot of pain, but that's gone now. And it just made me a person who is more empathetic with what other people are going through. I had no idea.
Had you been into sort of that area in 5 Points ever before you came over to St. Luke's
No.
to help with the cafe?
I had.
What was that like for you to come from the neighborhood in which you lived to come into something that was so different?
It was like oh my goodness. You know, it was it was almost scary at first, but then everybody was so nice and so friendly. And I loved meeting all the different people.
But at the Common Ground Cafe, tell them a little bit about what you did. You were a very special kind of volunteer. What were you doing at the cafe?
I made jewelry, and I taught the people to make jewelry. And it was so much fun because I had no idea if they would like it. Just my friend Annie said, why don't you come out here and see if they would like making jewelry? So I would have done anything Annie said because she was a dear. And they loved it. I had one African-American, huge, tall guy who wanted to make a Tennessee necklace. And I took a lot of Tennessee things because they were big Tennessee fans out there. So anyway, this guy, he makes this necklace, and it turned out, I bet it was 2 feet long. And when he got through, and there was another young woman next to me who was helping him bead. And he picked it up and he says, look at this, and I made it. And he said, and people are going to say to me, where did you get that fabulous necklace? And I'm going to say, I made it. That made me feel so good. There was another girl that, well, we're still friends. We talk on the phone, Trisha. She makes these beautiful, beautiful boxes. And she made one from y'all to me for my birthday. And it is one of my prized possessions. It's behind me where you can't see, but it is behind me in my dining room.
So what do you, from your experience of being at the cafe, what did you learn from crossing that bridge that you hadn't known before?
I guess I didn't realize how with it, these people who didn't have anything were about politics, about what was going on in other areas. They had the same things inside them I did. It didn't matter the differences in our circumstances really didn't matter. We could relate as person to person, and that was great. And I loved it. I loved coming out there. I miss it. I hope that someday we get back to that.
I know. Did you discover that there were any changes in how you view things culturally from your experience and getting to know people that were so different from you and to know them as friends? Has this changed how you look at things in our culture now?
Well, like, I think all different religions are fine. I mean, I had a priest one time that said, think of the word of God like a flowing stream. And each of us has a different cup that we get our water by. It's the same God, it's the same stuff, but we all just have our own way. That's inside, we were all a whole lot alike. And that just kind of makes you tolerant. I mean, I like to think I'm tolerant. One of my friends said to me, you are the most tolerant person I've ever known in my life. But I do have one problem. I'm intolerant of intolerance. And this Episcopal priest and I used to sit and talk about, there's a fine line there because we're both intolerant of intolerance, but somehow it just seems like maybe it's a little bit better than what we're intolerant of. But it's just hard. And I enjoyed just helping those people do things that they loved and thought were pretty. And I was so happy that they did, because I didn't know what they would think. And were
you concerned when you first started about what they would think of you?
Maybe some that they would think, because that I thought I was a big person coming out there and doing good or something, and it wasn't like that at all. No, it really wasn't. And I think most of them saw me, after they got to know me anyway, as somebody who just liked them and cared about them. And when we had like the Mardi Gras party, how much fun that was, and seeing how much fun everybody had. And
I know you told me one time that that growing up, your experience with people of other races was very, very limited. You told me a story about something when you were younger that that happened that opened your eyes
Oh,
to that?
yeah,
Would you tell me that story?
I will. I was a young mother with young children, and I had really never had a conversation with an African American person as like I'm having with you. And Tennessee was playing in the Liberty Bowl, and they had a party the night before for people. And I went, and Larry Finch, who was a big basketball player at Memphis later, and then later even the coach, was there with his mother. And she introduced herself to me, and we started talking, and she was a teacher. And I got out of there and I thought, that is the first time I've ever had a conversation. I mean, I couldn't believe I was as old as I was, and I'd never had that kind of a conversation before.
Mm-hmm.
It really bothered me. I mean, I was glad I had, but it was just so different, and it was great. It was just, opened my eyes. Well, my gosh, this is this cultured lady. She's got as much education as I do. We have things in common. We have kids. And it was great. And
do you think that today there are people that are still that sheltered, that just haven't really gotten out of their comfort zone at all, and met people that are different?
Yes, I do. I do. And I think they don't want to get out of it. I think they're scared to get out of it, because I hate to say this, but I think a lot of them, they want to have somebody that they can feel like they're superior to. And so they don't want to find out about different ones. They're just so set in their ways.
Well, it sounds like, in addition to the injustice of it bothering you, that you've had such a great experience in expanding your horizons, that you probably are aware they're missing something. What do you think they're missing?
Oh, they're missing expanding their lives, and just all what the other people can give them, and they can give each other and take care of each other. And it's just, they're missing a lot. It's so narrow, and they're so angry. And what I don't like is it makes me angry at them. And it's like the people who just refuse to wear masks. We've got a mask mandate, people. You're supposed to put it on. And they don't. Last week, I was at Tellico Plains with Valerie and Roy, and we went to the bakery there, and we had our mask on, and the young woman who was in the bakery, she had on her mask, she had on gloves. We waited till there was no one in there, and we went in, got our stuff, used the bathroom. That's why we went. We decided that was our excuse for getting sweets. We needed to use the restroom. We did on a picnic in the mountains. So all of a sudden, here came this whole group of people laughing and talking, men and women, huge group. None of them had on a mask, and they go zooming into that poor girl whose mask. And I'm thinking, that is just so uncaring. Do you not? It's like Dr. Fauci. I love this thing. He said, I don't know how to explain to people how they should care about each other. And I just, I think all the different experiences I've had have given me, people that take care of each other. And it's just, that's what we're supposed to do. And some of them are just so picky. They're just tacky about anybody who's gay, or anybody who's trans, or anybody who's Black, or whatever. Well, I have a gay niece, and I have tons of gay friends, tons. One of my guy friend of mine said, I went to a party at your house, and I think you and I were the only people there that weren't gay. And I went, well, I don't even think about it. They're just my friends. But when that was something that came later, because as I was growing up, I'm sure I did know somebody gay, but I didn't know I did. And I become much more, I realized that as a kid, my whole everything has changed. Because like when I went to UT, I was in the art department, and So they were kind of, out there, but I wasn't. And they were like, they called me the little capitalist. And they were right. I had no clue what was going on out around me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so much more liberating and wonderful to have all this that you find. I mean, my daughter Laura, the one who's the museum curator, she had a gay roommate, a guy, at one point. And that was the first, it was like, wow, he's really nice. This is, you find, I mean, it doesn't make any difference. We're just all people. And someone said to me once, how do you have such, I said, well, we're all God's children. He made us, so that's got to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
If he made us, and then of course we're all right. It's just wonderful.
It sounds like it. You've crossed a lot of bridges in your life, haven't you?
I have crossed many, many bridges.
When we meet actual people, it can change our minds and our hearts.
Oh, it does in a skinny minute.
Absolutely.
It really, really does.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun. I enjoyed it.